Thank you very much for that succinct presentation, logical. You would have noted that he was the most very tolerant towards opinion polls, putting them in their place, I would say, as one of the factors that may matter. His impression is, or opinion on the surveys done in India is that we are not quite up to the highest standards. So the science should be improved, and the election. He said later on that the election commission could lay down some guidelines about or make some inputs on questions such as how to do this, how to frame it, what is the source of funding on which to which reference was made earlier. As a regulator, as an umpire, or as a moderator, can set some standards. Or he said the option would be for editors themselves to get together and work this out. So, and then he gave us an insight, that is the best, he says, self-regulation. So, an extremely tolerant and somewhat wry take on election issues, on opinion polls and presumably exit polls, but saying that they do help in spotting the trends, and if they do it in time, maybe political parties can correct their strategies and so on. He gave an example, BJP Congress. If the polls show Congress is down, then maybe that helps in ensuring a more sporting fight. That's the implication. And finally, from his own experience, he put forward the thesis, the proposition that there is defining issues, there are defining issues in an election, and polls that help identify the defining issues clearly help. Bangladesh was one example, and then the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi and the sympathy wave that was generated. He says, what can the opponents do? What could MGR himself do when the defining issue was different and you were up against against a trend? So opinion polls should not be banned, but he's willing to accept reasonable restrictions in terms of time. He even mentioned 1 week, which would, I think, delight the media before the actual polling date, or 2 weeks or whatever. So very, very open-minded on that, but I would emphasize that tolerance towards opinion polls and exit polls. So thank you for that, and unless the representatives of political parties wish to rebut or respond to something, and that would take only 1 minute each, I think that's only fair before we invite other comments. If those who do not need to respond or rebut need not do so. You're free. Mr. Raja.
See, the BJP feels that, as has been nicely put out by the senior politician, Mr. Banduti Ramachandran, the political parties have got many things to gain from the opinion poll. People take decision when the election is proximate. So if it is sought to be banned or prohibited from the time of the model code of conduct, people might not have decided, or something like, because the Rajiv assassination and Mrs. Gandhi's assassination were referred here, the BJP lost nearly 98 MPs because of one assassination in 1984. Otherwise, instead of 2, we could have got even 100. The party was so powerful in many states at that time. So such of those things are exceptions. The opinion polls give us the direction in which the people's mood is. We can take the direction for granted and not the magnitude. The magnitude may differ. With regard to Mr. Ilangovan's charge that BJP has lost, I can also tell that the DMK has lost its very purpose of birth, because no social justice or this anti-God or any of the policies or the state autonomy or any of the policies that anything left in the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam except the family of one person. So,
I rule out, that is unparliamentary, please don't mention that.
no, he has told that BJP, there is no BJP, only Modi is there. In India, people understand the leader and then his policies. Right from the Jawaharlal Nehru's days. So, there is nothing wrong. See, the Hindutva, we need not tell every now and then the BJP is for Hindutva. Because there is no need for Raja to tell my wife every morning that I love her. So, we are living together. It goes without saying that we love each other. So, likewise, BJP stands for its basic policies and philosophies. And, yes.
Do you still continue with your policy of scrapping Article 370? Do you still continue with your policy of bringing a common civil code?
Yes. Even the Supreme
Can
Court.
Modi go to the people and say all these things?
You see, Bharatiya Janata Party will release its manifesto in which all these things will be there in the front page of our manifesto. Don't worry about it, because regarding the common civil code, even the Supreme Court has asked this government UPA, why you are not bringing in a common civil code? A secular country cannot have different laws for different religions. So that is why I am emphasizing that if at all there is one political party which is secular, it is Bharatiya Janata Party. And when we get the enough requisite majority, we will not hesitate from abrogating Article 370. We need 2/3 majority for it.
Govan, you have the right to reply.
I only stated that only Modi is projected and his economic development of Gujarat is projected. Modi as Chief Minister for 15 years is being projected. Here we project DMK. We belong to DMK. We speak on behalf of the DMK. We still fight as DMK. We don't fight in the name of our leader, or we never isolate our leader from the party. So there is, when the first thing the BJP did was, earlier in the year 1983, in first election they won in 1998, they projected Vajpayee. Of course, BJP has good leaders, committed leaders, sincere leaders, but the only thing is that their policies are wrong and they get defeated. They have good leaders. Modi may be a good leader. Now that they have understood that with the party behind, the leader cannot win. So they just put the party in the shelf and promote the leader. That is our charge.
You can decide which you want to, which is more reasonable. And Mr. Jnanadesh, can you have a full 2 minutes?
Thank God that between these two, Raja and Elangovan, we are not brought into the picture. So I have nothing to rebut that. Only one proverb, jokingly I want to mention. When there was a comment about lawyers arguing on two sides, a proverb was, the lawyers arguing on two sides must be two sides of the scissors. They must not cut themselves, but come between. Therefore, reminding that, only one question to Raja, that is, he referred about that there is an opinion poll about Gujarat rights and economic development in Gujarat by Modi. That is why we are worried about the opinion poll. That is the reason why we are worried about the opinion poll. Who is doing this survey? Who is behind that? That is the question which we are asking, and I asked in the beginning. Second thing, you talked about emergency. In spite of the emergency, using electronic media, government-owned media, the Congress was defeated. He was referring about that. For my reply was, here we are talking about the opinion poll taken by the agencies. You are talking about the emergency and using of government media, which is a different aspect. That is nothing to do with the opinion poll conducted by the agencies on the behest of the media houses. Therefore, I still stick to the earlier view, and we have supported the Election Commission's letter that whatever they want to take to control this menace of opinion poll has to be stopped. Thank you.
As I have already explained to you, my party wants only regulation and not total ban. For the simple reason, if I am permitted to quote even the article by Mr. Sainath in Hindu, this powerful media has reported about the suicides of more than 2 lakhs of farmers in Maharashtra in one particular state. But the media, which trumpets about very many other trivial items and problems, has it ever gone to those places and interviewed and brought to the notice of the people and the government to educate it? Supposing if it had been so socially conscious, then we would be like to welcome the opinion polls also. Their opinion also may shape our opinion. It is not so. It is not behaving so properly. First, now I can quote. Comrade Raja will not be offended because I know, because even Trichy, where their prime ministerial candidate said that Vavoosi led the agitation to Vedaranyam. Please try to correct your prime ministerial candidate and try to educate him before he could educate the Indian people.
It's only 12:15, still have plenty of time, and before we have an open and free discussion, I would like to invite somebody who really should speak here, Dr. Rajiva Karandikar, Director, Chennai Mathematical Institute. Just because we have seen him on television, on CNN, IBN, we shouldn't assume that his main work is psephology in the context of Indian elections. He does things like stochastic calculus, Markov processes, filtering theory, linear and non-linear, limit theorems, white noise calculus, financial applications of stochastic processes, cryptography, block ciphers, Monte Carlo simulation, and all that stuff. But among other things, today you are here because we'd love you to comment on it and provide any insights, and also to answer my question, which I even emailed you before you came. What is the science behind conversion into seat projections? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram, for this invitation. And before I come to answer this about seat conversions, let me make some comments about whatever was discussed. Not political comments, but firstly, I agree wholeheartedly with the comments by our senior most leader, Mr. Ramachandran, about opinion polls should be about polls and not opinions. And being an insider, let me also say that I think several polls do fall short on this count. So, secondly, I am all for regulation, but not for a complete ban, but regulation about disclosure about funding, disclosure about methodology, being open about an audit, not by general public, but say by press council or a press council team. All these are must, because irrespective of the views about whether they affect or not, I do also strongly feel that not all, but a good section of public has a tendency of going with the winner. As Mr. Nandadesikon had said in the beginning, there is a notion of going with the winner, and therefore opinion polls do have a feedback effect possibility of. Of course, that is negated by 100 agencies putting out opinion polls. If you go back 25 years when Mr. Prannoy Roy, who started it all, if he said that in 80, I think, and 84, whatever he said was like 8-column headline, if not at least a 4-column headline in every newspaper. Today, even the newspaper which engages us gives us a 3-column, and everybody else gives us 1 column, 1 inch is the coverage. So different agencies coming out with different polls has already negated the impact that it could have had. Having said this, I come back to it that there should be self-regulation. Perhaps Press Council could set up a team which could look at such things, and disclosures, methodology, all these issues. I may add that whatever we do, it is all in public domain. I have been associated with CSDS, and the methodology and various such details are in public domain now on their CSDS website. As for track record of opinion polls, you see, people have very selective memory. Just like everybody thinks that, you know, they unfairly are targeted whenever they're crossing, they have to wait much longer than others when waiting at a red light. So people have, or in a queue, people have a tendency of, you know, remembering that generally whatever queue they choose in a railway reservation counter, these days you don't need to go, but in the past, that is the one which was slowest. So there is a kind of a selective memory. But I cannot speak for all others. Let me, I can speak for myself. UP 2012 was mentioned by several speakers, and while it is true that most surveys predicted one way, what I said is forgotten, but what I had gone on air saying SP will get a clear and absolute majority on their own, and I was very confident about it. Now, talking about influence, the media houses and others influencing polls and so on and so forth, once again, I can't speak about others, I can speak about myself. I've been working with CNN IBN from the time the channel has been launched with Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, and on several occasions, on each occasion there is a different print partner. On several occasions it had been Hindu, and Mr. Ram can tell that he would know whatever we are coming out with. The day of in the evening we are going to go on air. Sometime late afternoon we would have told Rajdeep, and then Rajdeep would put us in a conference call with Mr. Ram, and we will tell, and then he would quiz me a little bit about, you know, are we sure about this or that. So it was always a one-way thing. We have decided what our data is saying. Only then we talk to the editors concerned, and that we have kept till now. The UP time again, Rajdeep was convinced that whatever our findings are wrong. He said he had spent 2 days with Akhilesh Yadav in the campaign trail, and there is no way they'll get a majority. They are all prepared, back-end diplomacy is going on about how to form government, etc., etc. Now our thing is very clear. We told Rajdeep that, well, you need not put me on air. You have paid for the survey, doesn't mean you have to put me on air, but if you put me on air, this is what we are going to say. It is his choice. And jokingly only on air he says, you know, if you get it right, it is our credit is to us, but if you get it wrong, it is all yours. I said, okay. So that wasn't fun. So so coming back, I think press council and regulation, etc., etc., is a very good idea. I have a few questions about, you know, this proposed ban. How will it operate? For example, how about underground polls? Namely, somebody, you know, a reporter writing that, you know, a poll conducted by a corporate house is coming out with such and such, etc., etc. How will that be banned? After all, betting is banned in India, but on everything from cricket to elections, the betting odds are published in the mainstream media. That is illegal, but the odds are published. You know, all it says is, we have found a reliable source, this is the usual thing. So how would this be banned? Is a question to be pondered over by proponents of ban, whatever be irrespective of the period. How do we prevent that? Secondly, you see, already on electronic media, the regulations can be imposed very easily because they have signed up very draconian things about the uplinking rules. But on print media, many of these things may not apply. And on internet, nothing applies. So what is to prevent internet site from quoting various things? So all these things should be considered. Okay, now let me come. Yeah, but that brings it in the, actually shutting it down is making it more focused. So if I want to launch a website, I would want the government to shut it down for 5 days within a week so that everybody knows about my website. Free advertisement. So now let me come back to your question about this conversion of votes to seats. Yes, in a democratical system like India, where it is first past the post system, just obtaining vote shares, even if it is very accurate, will not give you seats exactly. That is true. And in fact, when I got involved in these opinion polls 15 years ago, my friend Yogendra Yadav, who got me into this, now he has left me and he has joined politics, but he got me into this 15 years ago. And this was one aspect on which I have worked. Till then I was a pure theoretician. I continue to be that, but in this aspect I do applied work and a few others. But
He is the director of the Chennai
Mathematical Institute, yes.
very major center for mathematics.
So you see, one extreme option would be to do a large survey in each constituency and call about who is winning that constituency in isolation. And if this methodology is right, we can get it right with 90%, 95% confidence, I am very sure. But a good survey in each constituency will translate to something like 20 survey of the size of 20 lakhs across the nation. And media will not pay for it, and even if media pays for it, I would not have reliable and trained manpower to implement such a thing. Because reliable and trained manpower is a must. How do I ensure that somebody doesn't sit at home and fill a questionnaire and give it to me? So that kind of thing is ruled out. So the only thing is that based on the survey, we can kind of estimate vote shares at the state level, or in a large state like UP or Maharashtra, we can estimate it at geographical regional level. Then it's a mathematical model that I have developed about how to convert it to seats. There is mathematics, there is probability theory, there is statistics, and this is not secret. I have written there is actually, I didn't know that before, but there is a journal called British Journal of Electoral Studies, focusing only on election issues. And in '99, I have written this methodology that I had developed as an academic article in that journal. Subsequently, yes, British Journal of Electoral Studies. And subsequently, I have keep talking about it various places, but I don't, it's a bit too complicated. So even though it is in public domain, I don't think any of the others are using that model. What they do, I don't know. But this methodology is reasonable. It has limitations. It is not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It can indicate which way the public mood is, and in addition to that, this model can predict whether, how does it translate to seats, whether there will be, but if you say that, if let's say in UP, somebody say, oh, you are also wrong, because I had said 232 to 250, and the actual was 224. Well, it was off, it was outside my interval, so I am also wrong. But on the other hand, with everybody else saying 160 to 180 and the majority mark being 202, what our thing was to be read as that they will get a very comfortable majority. It won't be even a wafer thin majority, it will be a very comfortable majority. So things like that one can come out with fair confidence. Even now I live in Tamil Nadu, but I was living in Delhi, and in 2006 CNN, IBN and Hindu, we had come out with a thing about DMK victory almost in the midpoint, correct to the midpoint. So sometimes we may be very right, sometimes we may be somewhat off the mark, but generally it is correct. There have been times even when we have got the winner wrong. Karnataka, not this one, but 5 years earlier, and that was a very tricky situation for a pollster because Congress got more votes, but BJP got more seats. And that kind of a thing, any mathematical model to actually get that is going to be very, very difficult. Okay. So there are limitations to the methodology. But there is, it's not just a pure guesswork, there is a mathematical model, and but that requires getting into too much details, and obviously this is not the forum for that, but there is a model.
Thank you very much for that excellent. There's a question about sampling.
Samples, okay. Science about sampling, yeah. So you see, there is one common misconception that the sample size should relate to the population size. So often we are in a country, 99 there were 40 crore voters, actual voters, not registered, and it's expected this time around there is going to be 50 crores voters is the expected number. Now, You know, with 50 crore voters, or like last time, 40 crores voters, you had a sample size of 30,000, how do you know what people are saying? Okay? But the point is, instead of 40 crores voters, even if it were 4 crore voters with this kind of diversity, I would still need 40,000 as my sample size. So sample size is what determines the accuracy, not really what proportion of the whole population it is. Okay? In US, the sample sizes are even smaller, few thousands only, and it's all by telephone. Now, telephone survey, which is much easier to implement very fast. But in US now, or maybe last several decades, it may be fair to assume that telephone survey gives you a good representative sample. In India, if we do it, we will get a completely distorted sample, and therefore we don't resort to it at all. It's methodology of door-to-door poll that we do is far more expensive, but this gives a reasonably accurate, in fact, my very first time then I did it, 1998, and forgetting the voting intention, we also get socio-economic profile of of the voter, of our respondents in every survey. Just a sample of about 10,000 across the country, chosen by randomization. We do not specifically try to balance male, female, urban, rural, religion, caste, nothing.
But sometimes the stratified random sampling is
No, yeah. So,
taking the random, stratified random sampling somewhat reserved.
So,
Because US they follow this.
no. Okay, there are many differences. Stratified, I won't get a list of separately people caste-wise in here. Okay, so even if I want to, I can't do stratified by caste. We do stratified by region, because each state should, being a separate entity, and what Tamil Nadu votes will be very different from what Karnataka votes. The methodology we adopt incorporates regions as strata rather than caste or religion, because that sampling frame doesn't exist. Okay, so to come back to you, so the sample size is not related with the population size, but what accuracy you want. And since each state kind of acts separately, when it is nationwide, I would not go public unless I have something like 25 to 30,000 sample size. In a state like UP, I would like maybe 6,000 kind of as a minimum. Tamil Nadu, maybe 4,000. So this relates to the diversity of opinion across the region and the accuracy that we want. My accuracy only refers to seats at the final level. When I go on air, I say nationwide, I do not give state-wise breakup in my prediction, because I know that these figures are likely to be vastly wrong. So I do not want to disclose that. The hope is that since I am not trying to manipulate it this way or that way, the errors will cancel out, and what I get in the end for the nationwide picture or for a state-wise picture at a state poll should be reasonably accurate. So,
thank you very much for that expert and extremely honest response to many of the questions that have come up. We really value this. And I would add that in 2004, the polls got it, I think, right, CSDS, because I was involved in that. Yes. And in fact, they came close to, you were involved in that. Yogendra Yadav did tell me that the poll showed, this is something I think I want to, in the interest of transparency, to mention, told me that it is clear that the Congress would be the BJP will not be the single largest party. But that's not what appeared on television, because then enter the journalists, all the pundits, and say, it doesn't make sense, you got it wrong. Then they start tampering with the polls. And once you start tampering with his numbers, with all their limitations, but he is coming as a scientist, you can't get somebody better than this. Then I think starts the problem, when we, journalists, using our conventional wisdom or apparent, political savvy, try to moderate or do this. I think 2004, if can be studied as a case study, the polls were pretty close, but that's not what actually was published or disseminated.
Can I add 1 minute to that 2004 story? Actually, I was not associated with CSDS that time, and I was working with Aaj Tak Group and Aaj Tak Headlines Today. Yogen himself was analyst for CNN, for NDTV with Prannoy Roy. NDTV had not sought CSDS poll. So though Yogendra had the CSDS poll numbers, when he went on air, he has to stick to the poll that NDTV has conducted. I won't, okay. In fact, before he went on air and I went on air on Aaj Tak, we both talked and we were disgusted that, we are going to go on air about data on which we don't have control, about data on which we don't have no faith, and yet because of our contractual obligations we are going on air. We decided that time that we are not going to get into this situation ever again. And that's how we got back together again and have been working with CNN IBN explicitly that we will go to air only with our own data.
And on the side of the politicians, I must add that the 2004, the only person I know who got it absolutely right, bang on, guess who? I'll give you 3 guesses. No, you can't guess. Sharad Pawar. Drive from Pune to Mumbai, I'll never forget that. State by state, this man, at least for 2004, had this political savvy, the information, and maybe the luck to get it absolutely right. This is some. Thank you. Thank you very much. So any question first to Mr. Jnana Desikam?
My name is Ramakrishnan. I am a freelance journalist. Mr. Panduti Ramachandran referred to the defining issue. In terms of defining issue, now it is only good governance. In terms of that, opinion poll is a passing cloud. Good governance is a permanent issue. In terms of that, voters are permanently frustrated in India.
The point is the perception the people have of the government. See, good governance is a phenomenon that cannot be defined in explicit terms. But when you take an opinion survey, then the ruling party gets certain percentage of votes in the opinion survey. So it is the perception of the people, perception of the voters that is reflected there. Based on that, a ruling party can make course correction and things like that. The opposition party can exploit it. It serves as a guidance. So good governance is a continuing issue. That's what is reflected in the normal course. But what I say is, the outcome of election is different, not exactly based on the opinion survey. See, there may be some issues which we may not foresee. Just at the time of election it may emerge and can sweep the result of the polls. That is what I mentioned. The defining issue you cannot predict before. In fact, as Harold Wilson said, a week's time is too long in politics. You may get something. Did we ever expect that Rajiv Gandhi will get assassinated here? No. So some such happening which we don't foresee may become the defining issue that will have an entirely different outcome of the polls. That is what I meant.
Satyamurthy, Mr. Nyandesh mentioned about the Director of Observer Research Foundation, it's a policy think tank. Mr. Nyandesh mentioned the 67 results. Congress got 42+% votes, if I am not mistaken. DMK got 40+%, and the DMK alliance got 45+%. Likewise, Mr. Panduti Ramachandran mentioned about the Bangladesh war's impact on the 71 elections. The war happened in December. The elections happened in February. The government of India decided on the war only in March. Then about Mr. Ram again mentioned, stole my point on the 89 polls, how the Hindu got it right. And Hindu also got the figure right, not only the results. But again, apt media that did the survey went out of business before long. As Mr. Pandian mentioned, I think we at Sunday Mail were the only one to give them another assignment. As Mr. Pandian mentioned, the economy is not only for the media, but also for the pollsters. So again, Mr. Kandikar and others mentioned about the social media. How are we going to ban? Anyway, political parties and industries that fund them always run their opinion polls and they spread the word. They manipulate rumors and all that. So any ban that is done has to either include it or there will not be any ban. Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Seshadri. I'm from the Lok Satta party. Now it's just a comment on the ban, the intervention that is being proposed, that is the ban of opinion polls. Now I'm glad that opinion polls go wrong today, because if we didn't, we would be creating an absolute monster. And the very the failure in the system which makes it go wrong is the beauty of it. I mean, we don't really need to worry about it. We have competition. We have any number of channels coming up with any number of polls, and therefore, if we take the voter as an intelligent citizen, looking at it from the citizen's perspective, he's got enough to, in terms of either being misled by all of them or being informed by all of them. There really is no cause for worry to intervene with a ban. Now, if you did ban, it would go underhand. How would you deal with something like happens in Bulgaria, for instance, where they talk in terms of the weather? They say there's a ban, but the weather is way too hot on this street than this street. And this street is where one party's offices are based and the other one is based here. So they use other ways, surrogacy or surrogate ways of bringing this out. The other thing is, what would you do if poll results are going to be brought out from foreign shows? Now, parties which know how to get over these kind of issues would do, but good, decent parties would not be able to deal with these bans. In my view, I really think we shouldn't be thinking in terms of bans. There are people who make professions out of polls. The media, for instance, the pollsters. Why should we do something which stops it? If you're talking about giving the voter quiet time, all right, 48 hours before, give him time to sit and think. And let's reduce the noise around elections for a while. But any intervention, in my view, is really not a good idea.
I wish to point out that it would be too easy to assume that these things will go on anyway. That is true in a certain sense, but we are now talking about impact, which means the mainstream media and television. So, and reference was made to the different games in which the print media and the television are involved. So, just to play the devil's advocate in favor of those who want some restriction, they are concerned about major media. They are not concerned about some small website saying this and so on. So that's the point. So somebody wants to comment on it here?
We are not per se against opinion polls. That was what almost all the parties have stated, that per se we are not against opinion polls. We want to have a certain period in which the political parties can interact with the voters, convince them as to their performances. That was what we want. We want that space. Out of every 5-year elections are held. 4.5 years we are not bothered about opinion polls. Close to elections, we want the parties to interact with the voters. Explain to them as to what, if the opposition party, let them go to the people and say the wrongdoings of the ruling party. Ruling party, let them go to the people and say that what good they have done for the people. But opinion polls may have some sort of, sometimes it is the opinion of the media, sometimes it is the opinion of the agencies. Whether we must be sure that it is the opinion of the people. Many a times it is not the opinion of the people. That was what most of the opinion polls have proved. That will affect the undecided voters, not the decided voters. It is over. Opinion polls will, at least in a small way, affect the undecided voters. That is why we want it to be stopped during a short period. That's all.
Before we come to you, Mr. Jnana Desikan, who's in danger of missing his flight.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. In fact, I couldn't resist the invitation from the Hindu group, and I postponed my journey to 2 o'clock. I have to catch the flight. Thank you very much for all of you. I seek the apology of the organizers that I have to miss the continuance of this discussion, but very useful, and I hope this continuously this will be not only this subject, other subjects also will be covered by the center, and whenever convenient, you also invite us, we will participate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Raja.
See, the party cadres approaching the electorate and convincing them is there from the time the first elections have taken place. In no way the opinion polls affect that right or activity of a party worker. But the real thing is, if the opinion poll is sought to be banned from the time the model code of conduct comes into force, people might not have decided on their voting preference 4 months before the elections, because there are so many proximate issues that could influence the voters. And moreover, I have been following the opinion polls right from the beginning when it was started by Mr. Pranay Rai. And in many of the polls, they give many particulars about how many number of respondents were contacted, what are all the issues in which the poll was conducted. That's why you see, to take an example, in the recent opinion poll in Delhi, the Prime Minister has got 3% rating, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi has got 17%, and the BJP's chief ministerial candidate has got around 20%. But Sheila Dikshit has got 31%. But here what BJP has to learn from it and readjust our strategy. In the same poll, people have rated Narendra Modi with 56%. So now for BJP in Delhi, it is advantageous to push Modi in the front. Whereas in Madhya Pradesh, the chief minister incumbent has got 56% rating. In certain surveys, he has got 60%. So in Madhya Pradesh, we have to put Shivraj Singh Chauhan and his welfare schemes in the forefront. So, for me, since all other parties want some restriction or other, I am prepared for a compromise. It could be the post-scrutiny period. Till then, so many issues would be coming, so the media should have the right to have its opinion poll.
Mr. Raja, I just would like to tell you a lurking danger in your figures. You see, what happens is, in assembly elections, they may prefer Sheila Dikshit. In parliament elections, they may prefer Modi. In fact, this, which we had suffered during 1980s, Mrs. Gandhi was preferred by Tamil Nadu for prime ministership, and M.G. Ramachandran was subsequently preferred for chief ministership. So, yes, so perhaps that percentage may be correct. They may vote for Modi in Delhi for parliament, but how will they vote for assembly remains to be seen.
Next, N. Murali, co-chairman of Kasturi and Sons Limited.
Political parties of various hues are increasingly intolerant of the media and therefore want to place restrictions directly or indirectly on freedom of expression. They have come to realize that opinion polls are a major leverage factor for the media and helps the media during election time. So also, if they can, they would want to gag the media. But unfortunately, because of the protection by the Supreme Court, they are unable to do anything directly with the media, and therefore, by attacking opinion polls, I think it's used as a surrogate to attack the media. Would that be a fair comment or not?
See, I'm not talking about Hindu. Generally, some of the Tamil weeklies particularly, the role of the media is to point out the mistakes or misgovernance of the present incumbent government. They should tell the people as to how a government is functioning, whether it is functioning the right way or not. But unfortunately, the target of attack of the Tamil media is DMK, which is not in power. They talk about the family of the DMK. They talk of the leaders' children. Okay, of course they are in politics. They are MPs, MLAs, let them be there. But the fight between two brothers is not a subject for the people to think. When this incumbent government is doing something wrong, which is not performing its duties properly, which has failed in keeping up the law and order situation of this state. Daily there are 2 or 3 murders, thefts are reported in newspapers. Daily there are some misgivings by the ministers. That is not reported in these newspapers. How are the people affected by projecting the infight or the fight between the brothers when there is a law and order situation prevails in the state? So we want the newspapers, the media to be fair. You take care of the people. You work for the people. You see how people are affected. I can list out from the year 2011 till date, how many killings undetected, how many thefts undetected. I can report one thing, one small thing. A DGP gives a statement that the killer of one Dr. Reddy, a BJP man, Mr. Raja is here, was arrested. When he gave the statement, at the time when their party's senior leader Prakash Javadekar came to Tamil Nadu and visited those spots, on the same day DGP says that the culprit was arrested. After 1.5 years, a man called Badruddin was arrested by the police, and the Badruddin says that he killed Dr. Reddy. That is the situation the police is functioning in the state. Nobody writes about that. No criticism on that. But when they find a fight between Stalin and Alagiri, that becomes a major news. What is the use in projecting this news? How is this going to help the people? It is about a party. You can throw the party out. But how will you save the people? That is my question.
No, you see, you have raised a very pertinent point. The problem is, as I find, the level of tolerance among the political parties is coming down. See, they are highly sensitive to the criticism. After all, the duty of the press is to point out the lapses on behalf of the government. But what has ultimately happened now is, it's not merely administrative lapses. The regimes are indulging in corruption and other criminal acts. So when they are exposed, naturally they get angry. That is one thing. Then the second thing, barring a few political parties which fight for issues, most of the political parties are based on cult of personalities. So when one party glorifies a personality of its own, the other party, to win the election, naturally finds some muck and throws at such a personality which invites enmity and rivalry and ultimately violence. So there has been a degradation at the political level. Instead of issues, individuals play a dominant role. I think that is the very recent phenomena which we must take into account. Perhaps all these things may contribute to prevent even the opinion poll taking its own course. After all, it informs the voter. As I said in my introductory speech, it is the duty of every citizen in a democracy to enlighten the voter, to have an effective and genuine democracy in our country.
General submission is that media should first look into the government's activities, criticize them, appreciate them. If the government does a good thing, you appreciate. If the government does a bad thing, you criticize. If we are in government, we will readily bear the criticism. But when there are so many wrongs done by the government, why should you target an opposition party which was defeated by the people, which was thrown out of power by the people, which means you are distracting the attention of the people from the wrongdoings of the party in power. That is my charge.
See, I feel that the media, if it is impartial in reporting, there are two things. One is news and another thing is views. These two things should not be mixed, that is all. I expect that let the media give the news where it has to be and give its views in its editorial. So then I have no quarrel with it. But we cannot expect the media to be the leader of the opposition. So the political party should take guts with vigor and vitality and approach the people that the government has committed wrong in this respect, that is all. But media should not take such. At times I feel that we have to fight our opponent as well as the media.
Thank you. I fully agree with you that, at least so far as we are concerned, news reporting and analysis or opinion are two different things. And in fact, the Hindu, we have an code of editorial values which prohibits the editorializing in news reports or editorializing in the guise of news. So this, I think, is an important point. I think a lot of the media do it. We have also done it in the past. General daily newspapers, not about magazines and specialized newspapers and so on. General newspapers, at least in our considered view, should not, shall not editorialize in the guise of news. And I think that will go a long way in making this. I remember late Jyoti Basu mentioning in Calcutta, because the papers there, the Statesman and Telegraph, I can name them, whenever some big rally took place, they will say traffic jam in such and such a place. So he would, I knew him well, he would often tell me that we don't mind any kind of attack in your editorials, but don't distort what we say in news. And this applies to all political parties, which is why we have put it in the code. But thank you for that. And next, before that, one small thing, not so small for me. The first Ashes test, in which a lot are, Australia is completely on top. Do you follow cricket, Ramakrishna? 222 runs ahead, 10 wickets in hand. Australia much maligned. England was crowing a lot. And 295 Australia, 136 all out. Australia is 63 for no loss, with Warner firing. Johnson 4, Harris 3, but it's a newspaper office, so forgive us for getting involved.
Professor M. Ramani, visiting faculty from Anna University and other university. I am favoring the opinion polls because each and every political party has its vote banks, but they are not deciding the party's fate and fortune. Only 18 to 20% of the people deciding the either party or the sharing seats or even the prime ministerial candidate or the party who occupies the chief position. But for information, each and every year 10 to 12% of the new voters enrolled from the students category starts with the 18%. I think you do agree with me. The last election determines if it gives some favor to the ruling party only because of such category. Most of as we agree with this matter. But it is also to be noted that 30 to 35% of the voters are not turned due to various reasons. But for information, the 18 plus less than 20 decides and determines the selection of MLA, MPs, even the Prime Minister, Chief Minister. But they are not preferred to have their own spouse. திருமண வயது இந்தியாவில் 21 வயசுக்கு மேலே தான். ஆனால் அவங்களுக்கு 18 வயசுலேயே அவங்களுடைய தலைவரை தேர்ந்தெடுக்க ஒரு உரிமை இருக்குது. பட் they are in need of some information. The information is given by the opinion poll and others. The media role is not only to inform but also to educate. Even for information, to design the new product. At the time of introduction of microcellular phone, which is in brick size, block size, which has some aerial setup, how it gets changed due to the behavior approach. Opinion poll, they should get changed according to the convenience of the users. So it is a duty of the media to inform about the availability of certain things. In the case of the selection of the right MLAs or MPs, yesterday or the day before, the Supreme Court gives some sort of concession to the person who is under prison and others. Prisoner can also contest. But here, the media duty is to give information about the inflation rate, employment rate, unemployment, everything. It is a duty of the media to educate the person who enrolled, the student category and others. Okay, so the opinion poll, sometimes why do the opinion polls go wrong? It is frequently discussed with some others, the wrong selection of methodology. The wrong selection of, I just give some sort of point to this, some stratified random sampling as utilized by the US poll. And also they are using the data by the researcher for their own kind. For information, there is no wrong with the data. The wrong is the person who is handling. The figures never lie, but liars figure. So we should adopt a suitable course of action to conduct. So the Mr. Pandian sir rightly pointed out, we need a regulation, okay, not ban. Regulation in the sense by means of implementing before the code is in force. Okay, so this is my opinion. I think you do agree with me.
Demanded an outright and total ban on opinion polls, but regulation is the word. Some restrictions, reasonable restrictions on that. There are some differences, but that's something that has come out of this discussion. Next, of editorials on this question in the past, and will continue to do that. N. Ravi, Editor-in-Chief of The Hindu.
Many sets of issues have been raised in this discussion. Among them, the value of opinion polls for academics, for political parties, and for the public at large. The second set of issues relates to the science behind polling, the sampling methodology, questions about converting vote share into seats, and so on. But what I want to flag is the other issue relating to freedom of expression. Because in, I think the late 90s, Mr. Soli Sorabji as Attorney General had given an opinion to the government that under Article 19(1)(a) and 19(2), there are no grounds at all under which opinion polls can be banned. What the Election Commission does is, under its general powers to regulate elections, it is seeking to impose this ban, but then based on the fear that opinion polls might influence the undecided voter. If the undecided voter wants to go with the winning side, why should he be prevented at all? In fact, it's his conscious choice to go with the winning side, and based on legitimate criterion as he sees it. So why should that be a reason at all for banning opinion polls? The second question I want to raise is, the Election Commission has come to this conclusion based on the views of political parties who are the players within the election process. But the ban would apply to people who are outside this election process, namely the media, the polling agencies, academics, and even the general public. And those stakeholders are not being considered at all in this process. So I was wondering how a ban on people outside the process could be imposed without consulting only political parties.
No, there are two issues which you raised. As for the stakeholders, I agree with you. The Election Commission should not confine itself in consulting political parties only. They should have invited all the other stakeholders. I agree with you. Now, as for the Election Commission's interference in respect of fundamental rights, say Article 19(1), as enunciated by Soli Sorabji, there is one point that we must bear in mind. The Election Commission, as per the Constitution, is asked to conduct a free and fair poll. So, when it has to conduct a fair poll, then it says there must be a level playing field among the candidates. There must be a healthy competition. So, by engineering an opinion poll, if you are going to prejudice one section of opinion against another, and thereby impairing the level playing field, then the Election Commission says it has its own jurisdiction to ensure a fair poll and a level playing field. If there is a motivated or manipulated opinion poll which helps some political party against another, by virtue of denying equal opportunity to a smaller political party for that matter, then it doesn't amount to a fair poll. So in the name of fair poll, the Election Commission wants to intervene.
I want to raise a follow-up question. What jurisdiction does the Election Commission have on the media? As far as I know, zero jurisdiction. That's the key thing. But we don't want to argue it to extremes. So I think the Election Commission has no jurisdiction over it, and if tomorrow we make a brazen decision to violate the so-called ban of the Election Commission, that would set up an extremely interesting legal issue, constitutional issue. And as I mentioned earlier, we have challenged it. Ravi and I have been personally involved in this, challenging it before the Supreme Court, and we were delighted that Soli Sorabji, then Attorney General for India, wholeheartedly or full-throatedly agreed with us. In fact, we must get that opinion from the government, but we are not talking about any extremes here, and we want to find practical, reasonable solutions. But these issues, back of the stage issues, I think are going to be very, very important. How dare you, this is the question, exercise your jurisdiction over somebody who is not subject to your jurisdiction? But that would be a frontal challenge.
I will say that all stakeholders should be consulted before the Election Commission coming out with this thing, including the public, because it relates to people. It is not a political party's affair. It is the people who are going to elect their voters, elect their government. So all stakeholders should be consulted. I am for it.
I think Mr. Ravi is right. The present exercise that's being done by the Election Commission is on the direction given by the Ministry of Law and Justice, Central Government. See, Election Commission in its letter dated 12th November 2013, it says, I am directed to refer to your letter dated 24th September 2013, requesting that the Commission may hold fresh consultation with the recognized political parties on the issue of banning of opinion polls. Now, as friends here say, the Election Commission should consult the media also, not just political parties alone. This exercise is being done by on the instance of Ministry of Law and Justice.
See, I fully agree with what Mr. N. Ravi has told, that the political parties should not have any quarrel, even if the opinion poll affects the preference of the voters after they have come to know of certain informations. So let the political party workers go and clarify. So certainly BJP is against gauging the press.
No, I think the election commission had sought the opinion of the law ministry in this, and so law ministry had permitted that.
See, in our reaction to the election commission, we have clearly told that there should be no ban on opinion polls. But if all the political parties agree on a very short period of holiday for that, to allow the people to decide calmly, there can be a short period of 15 days. And it cannot be more than that.
Shashi Kumar was chairman of the, you know Shashi Kumar from earlier Doordarshan, Asianet. He's a pioneer of news television in India, chairman of the Asian College of Journalism, and he's done some polls in the old days or presented them.
Yeah. No, just to pick up the threads from what Mr. Ravi and Ram said, the jurisdiction of the Election Commission on this is very, very suspect. Because how does the Election Commission presume to speak about what the media can do in this field? Now, there were one or two issues which came up. For instance, if political parties need to know what the opinion of the people is about where they are at, and therefore they can correct course, I don't think this is about conducting opinion polls. It's about publishing opinion polls. So political parties can conduct opinion polls and learn all that they want about what the trend is. Why? The point is about publishing it. And it's important to whether it should be published. The issue is, for instance, we had the issue of paid news, right? Now, if in my sense, it's a larger extension of the universe of that. So I'm sure there should be some regulatory mechanism for publishing the opinion polls, and that should be decided by the media. It should be a self-exercise or a self-regulatory mechanism of the media. It's true that we have failed even on the front of paid news. The Press Council has proved totally useless on that, and therefore we need a better mechanism. But that's what's required. The Election Commission can't presume to tell the media how it should conduct itself in reporting elections, because even the Election Commission is under the scrutiny of the media. So the Election Commission cannot presume to be above the media in that sense, in my opinion. Because how do you vouchsafe for the conduct of the Election Commission unless the media points out if there are instances of to be influenced like this, you are I think impinging on the autonomy of the media, and that's a very, very dangerous thing. Within the media, again, I think there are some paradoxes. For instance, NDTV at one point, and this again is an extension of a poll, objected to the way TRP ratings are being done in this country. Now, if a media can talk about, that's also a poll. You know, it's a different kind of poll which will determine your advertising. Now, if a section of the media is objecting to the way the scientific method of TRP, conducting TRPs, I think there's a valid argument. Rigged TRPs, because the sampling size is small, they say, it's not representative. It's again a question of sampling and so on. So I think that by extension, there's obviously a need for more scientific polling, and that's obviously very, very, and one of the points I wanted to check with Mr. Khandekar is, among the issues that have been raised in sampling, if you get less than 50% response on the sampling, what kind of science is there in that anymore? We know that there have been polls which have, conducted on that basis.
If the non-response rate goes to that higher level, then there is no credibility left to the data collected.
No, in fact, the views expressed by you are in fact our views also. But today I think you could have seen a news item in the newspaper wherein the Election Commission has stated that this opinion poll is manipulated, maneuvered, and conducted in such a way that it prejudices the opinion of the voters. See, that is the ground on which they are trying to come. But whether they have a jurisdiction over this has to be agitated before the Supreme Court, and finally they have to give the decision. But personally, I think the Election Commission has arrogated itself with these powers for itself unnecessarily, and is inviting the trouble.
Before I turn to the Chief Coordinator Research at the Hindu Center, I'll introduce her properly. I want to ask Professor Venkatachalapati of the Madras Institute of Development Studies, a historian who studied many of the issues deeply, particularly issues both cultural and political here. Where do you stand on this issue?
I think ultimately it rests on the credibility of the agency which is doing it. So if there might be as many opinion polls as you may want, but ultimately it will rest on the credibility of the agency and the media which is publishing it. And the readers and the voters certainly keep an eye on it. I'll take names. Mr. T.K. Silangovan kept mentioning the 2011 elections. Nobody took Nakiran's opinion poll seriously, for instance. We know that it is clearly biased. So that is the one main issue. The second issue is that, we can't work on the premise that the voters' mind is a tabula rasa. So whoever can inscribe something on it, that can work out. The third issue, perhaps a larger social political issue, especially the background of, the 1971 elections being repeatedly mentioned. So we know that 1971 elections, two big issues were repeatedly discussed about the coming together of Kamaraj and Rajaji was one thing, and also the Salem conference, which proved to be so controversial. But the results actually turned out to be something else. So there is something about the Indian democratic system where the mood of the electorate's understanding of what is right for them, that ultimately tilts the results. So we should not be unduly worried about the manipulation of the opinion polls by one or two or three agencies, and ultimately I think the credibility.
Incidentally, in 2009 when I contested elections, a particular weekly made a survey that I will lose. But subsequently, I personally asked some people to make a survey for my own sake. And that survey predicted that I will win with a margin of 2%. Then I won. 2 percentage points. I won the elections and found out that the man who made the survey for my behalf was the same man who made the survey for that newspaper.
Vasundhara Sirnate of the Hindu Center, she is completing her PhD at Berkeley University, former journalist, and she's done quite a lot of work for us. You have a considered opinion on this.
I've been thinking about this issue of opinion polls, and for me, I think that finally at the end of the discussion, we may have gotten to the crux of the matter, which is exactly what I had called my friends who constantly keep doing opinion polls. And mind you, we are not really people in the media. We are academics and researchers, over which I might add the Election Commission typically should not have any kind of rights about what we do and what we publish, because I can also assure you that we do it with the highest, best trained standards available in the world. Having said that, what we basically got when we were having this discussion about why these polls are being banned, etc., the question was, and we all said this with one breath, oh yeah, they're just trying to manage the swing. And that, I think, is what we finally got at the end of this discussion, where basically if you follow Indian electoral politics and if you see the manner in which vote shares translate into seat shares, if you're a politician, anybody would be very, very worried about the swing. Now, if you can influence the swing voters, you can basically influence your margin of victory, and it is that margin of victory which basically gives you a larger or a smaller seat share. And the bigger the concentration of those swing votes in a certain state or district, the larger would be your all-over seat tally. Now, having said that and gotten that out of the way, there's a second question that does come to my mind, which is affiliated with the positions that parties take on the opinion poll. And that is this, for me, as someone who's done these opinion polls and surveys, I might add, with CSDS at some point and with other agencies in the past, if you go to a rural area and you administer an opinion poll or a survey of any kind, and mind you, the CSDS surveys run into several pages. They're not just asking who will you vote for and what are you doing. They also ask you how many times have you seen your representative. These are the wordings of the question. Have you ever met your bureaucrat? Do you know what the name of your bureaucrat is? Does your bureaucrat do things for you? How many times have you met your MLA? Now, we use those surveys to tell us how the Indian political system works. And across the country, who are the MLAs and politicians, from which party, and when they were in power? How many times did a local person, a common person, maybe a landless laborer, maybe a housewife in a village, how many times did they actually meet the person that was representing them? Now, when I think of it like that, it doesn't become just a matter of should you ban them, are they scientific? It's actually much more, because it borders on what I call thanatology, which is, this is about life and death for people, in a way, because this is possibly the only time that people that don't get reached out to in the course of 5 years, but do during a campaign, are able to actually articulate what's going on, because nobody else is asking them. Even the media isn't. Now, if you do these polls systematically at a repeat interval of maybe every year or 2 years or 3 years, not only are you getting people that don't have a voice to articulate and tell you what's going on, this is the only time they're also telling you what they like and don't like about particular representatives. And the CSDS surveys and surveys that we run also ask questions like, do you think that your politician or representative represents someone more than others? And usually if you do this in UP and Bihar, the answer is yes. So it tells you also the extent of ethnicization of parties in those districts, in those villages, in those areas. And sometimes you get to unpleasant truths. And the unpleasant truth is these repeat rounds of surveys repeatedly also tell us that the institution in India which has a maximum confidence, the question asked is in the is bharosa, how much bharosa do you have in this institution? And then you list the institutions of the state. Can you guess which institution actually has the highest confidence? It's the Indian military. Then the Supreme Court. And then other things. But the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha come pretty far down the ladder.
US, you know that the media rank just above used car salesmen.
I'm not surprised, but if you look at Fox and CNN, you would come to the same conclusion yourself. But I don't want to carry this discussion, but what I basically want to add to this discussion is that the opinion poll shouldn't be seen as something that is just scientific or unscientific. And granted, there are really, really bad opinion polls out there. And one of the things I look for when I look in the paper to see what the poll says, I look for the method in which it was conducted. And usually it's never given to me. Including quotes that we get at the Hindu Center by very well-known organizations will never tell you the way they're going to sample people. Now, if you're half trained and if you know what to look for, when you read these polls, you yourself can decide whether you can trust it or no. The second affiliated point is that politicians, which is all of you and a lot of people outside of the Hindu Center's event today, need not be worried about this, because the issue is that if you read the polls correctly, you might be getting far superior information that your own party leaders at the local level may be giving you. I say this because at some point I've also worked with a political consulting group that was trying to recruit me in about 2009. And what they said is that they have about 400 MLAs and MPs that pay them to go to the constituency and do surveys and polls. And you know what they said? They said our biggest detractors are party sycophants, local party cadres, because they want to give to the politician in power an impression of what is going on. And that impression that you get masquerades to you as information, but it may not be correct. Sorry? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm running away with myself. It was quite an exciting topic. But thank you so much for listening to me.
Shiva, must be music in your ears. So 1 minute comment by you, and then we move to the last question.
Two questions, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so I endorse your views that we should look at opinion polls much beyond just who is winning or how many seats. I mean, this is the only method by which you can get deeper into the psychology of the voters as to why they are voting in a certain way and why they are, what they like, what they dislike, and that is what we should look at opinions for. Its only thing is, CSDS gets this much money to conduct such a vast poll only because of the media interest in the seats and votes. Yes.
In fact, not opinion polls, but post-poll surveys. These are among the most valuable things they do. After the election is over, they go to the same person, he knows, well, you speak on the methodology.
You see, in any pre-election opinion poll, there is a tremendous problem in predictive power because you are voting from even the best methodology. You are saying about how the general public is feeling, whereas all that counts is those who go and vote, which is about 60%. And there are biases. Number two, it's a question of time point. If an opinion poll was done 2 weeks ago by me, whereas voting is tomorrow, people could have changed their mind. Exit poll tries to address it by doing it at the point of exit from the booth, but then randomization is a problem, and whenever we have tried to do exit poll, the socio-economic profiles we have not been able to get good, so we have stopped doing that. Post poll, as Mr. Ram mentioned, is given the Indian situation that polls are finished and then there are 2-3 days in between before counting happens, and sometimes the phases wise poll. So Chhattisgarh polls are over. Our people are going to do the survey now on a detailed, methodologically correct basis, door to door, and this is most accurate because now we ask people how they voted yesterday or day before. We ask them did they vote. Even when they say voted, we somehow psych them into showing us their finger and we look into whether they have actually voted or not and such things. So methodologically that is a mine of information which CSDS has, and I think Hindu to some extent publishes it, and the only other agency which publishes it is EPW. I don't think anybody else publishes the detailed findings that CSDS has got.
I'm K.N. Arun. I teach in Asian College of Journalism after 35 years as a journalist. I just want to make a couple of points. One is a lot of questions have been raised about the credibility of opinion polls and the kind of sampling that has been done. Now, it would be better for the opinion poll, the agencies conducting the opinion polls to have some kind of self-regulating body like the British Council of Polling or the National Council of Public Polling in the United States, where they have their own set of guidelines. They have their own disclosure policies under which are mandatory, under which every opinion poll that has been conducted, they have to disclose the size of the size and the composition of the sample, the sponsor of the sample. Importantly, sponsor of the sample, especially because some of you have raised the questions about who is paying for the poll. The sponsor of the poll, everything they have to disclose. That disclosure has to be there. So if the polling agencies, they do come together for some kind of self-regulatory body like this, then it may add more credibility to what the public opinion polls come out with. And these associations, these bodies also have their own, they have a set of guidelines for the media also on how to interpret and how to go and how to validate the polls, the results of the polls that have been conducted. If that could be done, I think you politicians should not be having the complaint. I totally disagree with what T.K. Silangovan was trying to say, that during that period of electioneering, when the model code of conduct is in force, then it is between we the politician and you the voters. No, it is not. There are other stakeholders also. You just cannot keep the matters only between you and the voter. And if you think that if it only you have the right and your propaganda, through your propaganda and your campaign, only you have the right to influence the voter, you are mistaken.
I'm Narayanan from Lok Satta Party. Yeah, it has rained and that restored my faith in meteorological science.
What? It has rained. 1 day late.
Okay, my point is the discussion was about effects of opinion poll on undecided voters. But I feel that as right, that's part, that's one of the part. But as pointed out by Mr. Ramachandran, I feel that the the first past the post system itself promotes, or its basic features include bandwagon effect. You don't vote for the one whom you really like. You vote for the one who's the second worst. So, do you think a larger change in the electoral system like proportional representation that would reduce the relevance of opinion polls at all? You know, the vote swing and other tedious methodological factors which we consider for opinion polls, that the relevance will be largely reduced in proportional representation.
So I think we'll close, and I want to thank our excellent speakers. As we said, all political parties here are equal, their voices, and speaking for, I think we've had a good discussion, good insights. Enna thavara yarum Tamil la pesalana. Because I think there's courtesy extended to those some others who don't know Tamil, including you. So, but I think this has been a very good discussion, disciplined, is stuck to the point almost completely. And one thing we learned from this is that there is no great militancy in the opposition to opinion polls or exit polls. They all want in fact, they don't use the word ban, regulation. And it turns out that the Election Commission was making too tall a claim when it said there's unanimity among political parties that this should not be allowed from the time of notification of the election. I think we made clear they've been very precise on the position of the parties, and also and particularly Mr. Ramachandran has come out virtually for no teeth in enforcing this, saying lay down guidelines, be reasonable. Media themselves can do it ideally, but otherwise the Election Commission can perhaps do it. But cooperate, because it's no big deal, these opinion polls. We learn from them, sometimes they go wrong, etc. I think we had a variety of views on it, but all within a certain band where I think a lot of political wisdom is there, and I think the media also ought to learn from it, because we do know out there are people who actively who take liberties with method, who do not disclose the minimum information that should be disclosed. Reference was made to that standard, the code for opinion polls, the British Polling Council, and so on. What is the minimum information you are required to disclose? I think we have to do that. But at the end of the day, there's also the question of freedom of speech and expression, Article 19(1), jurisdiction. So there's no need to take this to extremes, is my personal opinion. I think at one point we challenged it frontally before the Supreme Court. There's no need to do it if a sensible solution can be worked out. But whenever these constitutional authorities are given some space, they seem to get a little over enthusiastic. We've seen that about the Election Commission. At one point, I think they tried to close down bars in West Bengal in one election for a very long period and so on, and when that was not against the law, I mean, having those bars open. So I think they tend to do a little, I mean, it gets to them, but they've also done a good job. So I think the model code of conduct on the whole, I think, is accepted by all political parties, and I think you should also accept the information that comes from the media or through the media, because it doesn't come, it's not direct, it's not the media who do the polls. There are polling organizations, people like Rajiva here. Your presence has been unexpected and most valuable. Do you agree? Yes. Every one of you? Thank you. And also, I think the work done by the Hindu Center has been interesting. The Hindu itself has contributed editorially, and many others. So I think, speaking for myself, we've had a rich discussion, but entirely thanks to our friends up here, excluding me.